When I travel, one of the first things that I pack is my toothbrush, of course, but I also pack my Japanese bunka knife, which makes me feel like a little samurai with the sheath. And I also make sure to pack my pepper grinder. Everything I cook with will have salt and pepper. This is the travel size version of one of the best pepper grinders I've ever used that I've also reviewed on my channel, the MANNKITCHEN, I guess we can call it original or regular size, that I've had for over 2 years. They took this and then shrunk it down in a smaller form factor. These two are essential for cooking, and I cannot stand other people's inadequate cooking tools. There's also the XL. I'm Gadget Queen Jess, and I love reviewing and testing different products that are well designed. Whether it's work, play, so cycling gear, coffee gear, productivity tools. I've been rotating for about 3 months now between these three. See if it's worth the price tag, what the similarities and differences are, and we're gonna cover all of that in great detail. I'm not getting paid for this review. They did send this to me a while back so I can review it, and I did compare it with my Moulin grinder from Weber Workshops that I had purchased on my own. And then when I found out that they had this in a smaller form factor, I absolutely wanted the travel size and to see if it would suit my needs. So I asked them to send me this, and they also sent me this. Prices listed are at the time of the review, so if you want to see the latest prices and any sales or discounts, do check the link in the description. I also have a 10% discount code for my viewers. These videos take me a very long time to do, up to 40 hours easily, and I like to be very thorough and give you as much information as possible so you know what you're getting and you can make informed decisions. If this review ended up helping you, please buy through those links. It really helps to support the channel at no extra cost to you. You actually save a little bit of money with the discount code, and so that I can continue making great free content. If you do sign up for the newsletter, that will override my code. Prices have not changed to my knowledge since the launch of this product, so I really appreciate that. As we've seen in the world, the prices have increased for every single thing, and I think that's a deliberate choice from the creator to keep the prices stable. Start with the materials. They're all really beautiful. They are machined out of one-piece space-grade aluminum, so there's less moving parts, and it's also more expensive to manufacture. Anodized, and it's super resistant to scratches, and the finishes looks great. This is over 2 years old and it looks brand new. It is heavy duty. This is definitely a buy it for life type of product, and this is an excellent gift for yourself or for other people in your life. This is something that you're going to be using often, almost every day. And to me, that makes it very worth it. Is this overkill? Perhaps. You can definitely get really good quality grinders that are cheaper, that still have good metal burrs, but just know that compromise is that there's gonna be more plastic, like plastic housing. Keep in mind that those things can crack more, degrade, scratch more plastic on the inside. Pieces are gonna warp, and performance is likely going to be impacted. I'm reducing as much plastic as I can in my life, especially whenever it comes to my food. I check with Cleve from MANNKITCHEN, who is the founder, and he told me that there's only one singular plastic between the female burr, which is on the inside, which is like basically the hole for the burr, and the outer casing. This prevents galvanic corrosion, which happens when two different metals touch, and moisture or salt gets in between, like the steel burr and the aluminum body, where it's more exposed to steam and food. Piece that never moves and never gets worn. These ones, they will pretty much outlive you. It could be an heirloom piece. If you drop it, it's likely going to have very minimal damage, if anything. I did drop this one at some point, and I actually didn't even notice the damage until today when I was shooting, so I don't know at what point that happened, but it's barely even visible, and I probably can get a replacement piece for this. If this drops, I'd be more worried about your toes or chipping your counter or denting your floor. It's very, very sturdy. It is also backed by a 5-year warranty, and there is an email specific for repairs. There's 75 plus clicks that you can adjust from fine to coarse. You adjust it underneath. That can grind up to 80 to 60 mesh range. Mesh being how small the particles are. The higher the number, the finer the grind. 60 is super fine. It's like powder. Most pepper grinders are in the range of 12 to 28, let's say. So it really allows you to go much coarser and much finer. If you do go coarser, it's much easier to grind because distance between the burrs are larger. You'll get more output. If you go finer, it's still very easy to grind, but you're gonna get a lot less output. The distance between the burrs are really, really tight. That's how you get the small, fine grind. That's actually really good for soups. If you want to integrate in there and you want to have that flavor be in your soup or your sauces, but you don't want the texture of the pepper, that's a good example. Do you need that ultra precision between all of the different settings? No, I personally just go a couple clicks between, just kind of go by intuition or feeling. I'm not as precise about it because it's not like coffee where you have to be super precise. But having that adjustability is very versatile. On all three, they have a hardened high carbon stainless steel that's rated for over 200 pounds of performance. For reference, on the regular size, given the capacity that you can fill, that would be 2,600 refills before you start to see a drop in performance. That's a lot of refills, more than your lifetime, I pretty much guarantee, unless you're like cooking in a restaurant, which I would go for this one anyway. I only need to refill it every couple of months. Function-wise, you probably can get other grinders that do a very good job and that have good burrs, and that will be a little bit cheaper than this. At the end of the day, if you want performance, it's going to come with a certain price tag. Cheaper grinders are cutting costs somewhere, and one place could be the burrs, and even though they can perform quite well, the steel that they're using isn't as hardened and will not last as long. I don't know exactly what the burr sizes are. I'm gonna guess that these are in the 38 mil range and this is in the 40 mil range. These two have the exact same burr set. This burr set is a little bit larger, so you actually do get more output per grind. And they also have a double bearing shaft, so they have a bearing at the top and the bottom, and this means that it can spin freely. It just keeps everything in place and it keeps everything grinding so smoothly, whereas on a lot of other grinders you will not have that bearing, and so things can end up moving around a little bit and create a wobble and warp, and then also create really uneven chunks. It's not like grinding coffee where the grinds are going to be super even in high performance grinders, because that's just not how peppercorn tends to grind. On the medium and finer end of things, the grinds are quite even. All three of these come with some extra goodies as well. A couple of replacement rings that go over here, so you're set for any type of replacement if it starts to feel loose. 2 years I've only had to replace it one time. They're also really standard O-rings that you can buy. Those sizes I will list right here. And in all three of them, you get a nice metal, different color button. It also appears to be anodized. It's not like painted on. It's like very well built for durability, for quality, for that luxury feel. And it's very easy to replace. They give you the Allen key and you can swap that out. You can go for the silver or black or red, and that could be just for your preference, or if you have multiple grinders, you can actually have different peppercorns and then identify them looking at the cap. The travel also comes with this little case that you can throw onto a belt if you want, just like for the most ultimate barbecue dad vibes. I like that they included this. I wish that there was a little elastic piece here so that the opening can be a little bit looser so you can insert it easier. It is very rigid though, so it's not the most difficult thing to insert, but if you have to be a little bit more attentive when you put it in. And then there's a button clasp. I do use this though when I travel and I throw it in a bag, so it's just extra precaution and safety so that the cap doesn't accidentally fall off or that it doesn't get scratched in my stuff. Now all three of these are gonna have different weights, obviously, because they're different sizes, and this one has less material and this one has more material. The XL, even though it is a little bit heavier than these, it's not unpleasant to use or difficult to use. If you really love pepper or you've got giant hands, maybe this is what you would go for, but this is really more for restaurants or food trucks, more industry, I would say, than the regular home cook, but you know, you do you. I really like the weight of this in the hand. This one just feels really good. All three have the exact same push button mechanism that makes it so easy to refill and so easy to pop on and off. It's very satisfying. Click. These two, the refill experience is exactly the same because the opening to refill is the same size, but the travel is a little bit smaller. So you have to be a little bit more careful when refilling, especially if you have a wide mouth jar that you're refilling from, like I do. The other difference is that these two, the cross bracing that's inside, there's only two. So when you refill, you have to fill those two. But when you refill the travel, there's actually 3 cross bracings, 3 sections that you need to refill in this one. So you have to make sure to get all of those. So it is a little bit more finicky to refill with the travel. Those cross bracings go about 2/3 down, so don't worry if you don't fill it up perfectly, because it will open up at the bottom and all of your peppercorn will get ground evenly in the burrs. Still a great experience compared to a lot of other pepper grinders. The other difference is that the XL has a larger top. to be able to grip, a little bit easier to grind. These two actually have the same diameter on the top compared to the XL. Because this has a silicone cover, it is removable, very easy to remove, but if you do remove it, it makes the diameter smaller and it makes it a little bit harder to then grip. When you do remove it though, it then looks very much like an identical version of the MANNKITCHEN. I keep the silicone cover on because it does make it easier to grip and it looks fine to me. They're also very easy to grind, even with wet hands. With my Weber Workshop's Moulin, I found it difficult to grind when my hands were wet. There's springs at the bottom, dual spring plunger, pushing back resistance as I was putting it in. There's indent, and that helps to really maintain the grind setting in place. All three of these are steps, how much peppercorn you can fill in the chamber. This is a 1/4 cup, this is a 1/2 cup, and this is a 3/4 cup. I tested the full capacity myself and I noticed it didn't quite line up with the listed specs on the website. Turns out that those came from an early prototype and the final production, which is what is being sold, holds a bit less, and I confirmed that with MANNKITCHEN. It's now updated on the website. It's still a lot and it's plenty enough for my travel needs. I never go through an entire thing when I'm traveling. All of these do have large capacity, MANNKITCHEN on their website, and just general recommendation is that peppercorns do get stale when exposed to air and they can oxidize a little bit. So even if you have a large capacity, you may not even want to, or it would be recommended not to fill it up to capacity. I personally do anyway because I'm lazy and I don't want to keep refilling it, and I maximize it. It's been fine for me. In reality, all of it is plenty enough and I don't have to refill very often for even the travel one. If this was your daily driver though, maybe that would impact things, but that's still a lot of pepper. There's also the base cap. Using the cap has actually changed how I cook. This is the first grinder I've ever seen that has a cap. I don't know if they're the one that like invented it, but I think kind of. First, it's great for transport and keeping things covered. And then if you're passing along the pepper grinder on the table, the grind's not going down everywhere. And use the cap to season sauces, accumulate a bunch, and also not have to use your pepper grinder over your cooking, which could not damage it, but it's not great if there's a bunch of steam and like oils that can get into the grinder. But now I just grind directly in the cup and then throw it in when I'm cooking. Cooking is kind of an art, it goes by feeling. So I'm not being super precise when I'm cooking. I just have an idea. So I grind. I do a couple cranks, I look, I throw it in, then I assess if I need a couple more or not. Then I'll either regrind into the cap or I'll just grind once or twice more on top of my food. In theory, all three of these does have that same feature. On the travel, it's a 1 tablespoon capacity filled to the brim. I would not fill it to the brim because every time you do open it, by the way, twisting it is a little bit better to open. It's not a twist cap, but it just makes it a bit easier. It can have a little bit of a moment where your hand just moves a bit. And so if you had it full to the brim, that would probably spill over. It is usable for its intended purposes to be able to accumulate some grounds in there and then throw it into your cooking. But it's not as usable, I find, as the original and the XL. Now the original, the cap at the bottom was also a little bit less than 1/3 of a cup, but I never even got close to ever having to use 1/3 of a cup personally. And that's even when I was seasoning a bunch of steaks. Like that's just a lot of peppercorn. During my test, I ground this much peppercorn, and this is not even 1/3 cup. This didn't even fill up the entire cup, and this is gonna last me forever. The XL cap has a capacity of 1/3 of a cup. Another difference is that the original is the only one, at least so far, to have a companion salt grinder. You don't need a salt grinder in the sense that peppercorn degrades the moment it starts to be ground, just like coffee. Salt doesn't degrade and you don't need fresh salt versus fresh peppercorn. Quite frankly, don't need a fancy salt grinder because it crushes things more than it does grind. So having the salt grinder is not really a need in the sense like this will really impact your cooking. But if you really like having a set, which I do, the original regular one is the only one to have it. If you're low on budget and you really need just one, get just the pepper grinder. You'll be plenty happy. You won't be missing out on anything. How much does it actually grind? I'm gonna cover a couple of grind tests. The Travel and the original have the same burrs, so I went to 10 clicks past 0, and that's still quite fine. So keep in mind that the output won't be that much compared to a lot coarser grind. Then I had to figure out the matching XL size as the burrs are bigger than the other two, which looked to be about 9 clicks from 0. At first I used a kitchen scale that I've had for a while, and it actually was my first coffee scale, but the results were swinging a lot, so I don't think that's even accurate. So I switched to my coffee scale, which was giving me consistent readings. I have a review on this if you are curious, and I did the test twice for 10 cranks on each, and with within normal discrepancies, the results are that the travel and original do in fact grind the same. It also felt quite similar to grind. In the Excel, no surprise here, ground more. And keep in mind, if I went to a coarser grind, I'd have way more pepper and it would be oozing out pepper. I'd have pepper for months to use up. Quick notes, I noticed that when I was grinding like this, I wasn't getting as much output versus grinding like this, which I assume with this you have just way more strength because of how your arm is placed versus here when your arm is down. So if you want more grind, crank it like this. A while back, I had tested 4 different grinders. So this is test results from then. I have a super cheap one that my neighbor bought, I think even plastic burrs. My old 9-inch Peugeot grinders, MANNKITCHEN Cannon, and Weber Workshop's Moulin. I matched the grind size as best as I could with the cheapest one, which didn't have a grind setting, and that was about a fine grind size. And then I did 20 cranks for each, and these were the results. I like the medium ground of precision, quantity, and ease of grind that I get with the MANNKITCHEN Cannon. Back in the day, I had backed the Weber Workshop's Moulin on Kickstarter. It was much cheaper than what it is right now. I have a full in-depth comparison video if you want to watch that after this video. The key points is that this does in fact grind more, but it comes at a cost of it being more difficult to grind. It's harder to grind very little with the Moulin and be precise. I do personally prefer the outer grind setting. I think it just looks super sleek and super nice. However, if the lines don't line up perfectly, that is a thing. That could have been a manufacturing defect. It was a Kickstarter, so it's possible that they figured that out. I prefer the look of Moulin, but that's very personal. Functionally, it doesn't work as well as this one because it's harder to grind. Second of all, it's harder to grip. This one's just easier to grip and easier to grind with. So overall, the experience I find is just better with the MANNKITCHEN Cannon, and it's also cheaper. And there's the discount code. A question that comes up sometimes is, can you use this for grinding coffee? I don't know why you would. Technically, I guess you can, but it's not made for that, and I don't think it's gonna do as good of a job as other hand grinders that you could get for about the same price or even cheaper. I would just stick to pepper. Definitely don't put salt in there because it could possibly corrode. It's not meant for salt. If you want salt, get the salt cannon. So let's end on some recommendations and do you need this? It's very interesting when I get comments about, oh, this is really expensive. I would never spend my money on that. Absolutely, totally get it. This is very expensive. This is a luxury item. My opinion is this is something that you do use all the time. It is something that touches your food. I don't want plastic, and I find that's very worth it. That's why I bought the Moulin in the first place. And before that, I had a Peugeot, and that's good. It's wood. It was really high end at the time that I got it, but I really wanted to take it a step up. I grind a lot of pepper. I actually got it because I was cooking cacio e pepe, and there's a lot of pepper in there. Would get annoyed grinding. It was just to grind, even with the Peugeot. Very known brand, and it's like the wood grinder that you see in restaurants, not very high performance at the end of the day in comparison to these ones. It's like not even comparable. Do you need this? Is it worth it? That is gonna be up to you to gauge. We all have different priorities and needs and budgets. My recommendation is if you were to go with only one, get the original. And if you need to travel with it, throw it in a bag. Just make sure that the cap doesn't fall off. That's definitely happened to me before, where maybe throw it in a Ziploc bag. If you have the budget for it and you have this for at home and you want the travel, I mean, I would recommend it because I bring this all the time. I actually just leave it in my weekender bag. That's usually the bag I take when I travel on weekend trips, and you use this as your main grinder. This works really well. I personally prefer the experience on this one. Between all three, I will always go for this one. Maybe it's because it's the one I'm most used to, but I just like the way it feels and it grinds. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them, but if it's really technical, it's better that you just write MANNKITCHEN directly than me. I won't be equipped to answer every single question, only things that I have experience with. If you want to check out the in-depth review of this, you can check out this review right here, but if not, this one might be interesting to you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. I'm gonna have pepper for weeks. So much pepper and not even freshly ground anymore.